Hello, 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 hello. Thank you for joining me for Thankful Tuesday. I know it's been what? A week? It's been a week or 2 weeks? I'm not so sure. But I am back. The leave I took from doing Thankful Tuesdays, it was not planned. It was not planned in any way. I had something to take care of the week before last week, so it's actually 2 weeks. The week before last week, so couldn't do any videos during that week. Had to take care of those things, right? And then last week was a hectic week, but I am here. I apologize for not sending out anything, okay? But I promise you that I do have a word for you tonight. I do have a word for you tonight. And I usually, well, from the other day, I've been doing the promises of God from my list of 365. And I was going to go to that list in order to do the Thankful Tuesday. But the Lord said, no, I have something else in mind. So I said, all right, Daddy, what do you have in mind? And he said to me, who the Lord loves, he chastens. And I'm like, you're so right. It's true. I mean, it's a reality in our Christian walk. The Lord will chasten us. He will discipline us. He will put us through things that will help to shape us into what He wants us to be. So as that scripture came to mind when He spoke to me, I went ahead and looked it up because, again, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I know Google. I know Google and so forth. So I looked it up, and it's in the book of Hebrews. And also I went in my study Bible, got some background information as well. We should know, most of us who are already Christians, that the book of Hebrews is the book of faith. And it was written at a time when the Christians in the early church felt discouraged. They were persecuted in many ways, and they felt like giving up. So this book of Hebrews, the book Hebrews, is thought as being a sermon of sorts. Many people argue that Paul wrote it. Some say no, Paul did not write it. But irrespective of who wrote it, I'm glad they wrote it. So the focus for this evening, as we speak about the chastening of the Lord, which we should be thankful for, is Hebrews 12. And I'll be reading quickly from verse 5 to 12. So here goes Hebrews 12, 5 to 12, and I'm reading the NI version because having read it in the other versions, this is simpler for many people to understand. The essence is still the same as well. And it reads thus: and have you completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son? It says, my son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as his son. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best. But God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in His holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Therefore, strengthen your feeble arms and weak knees. So that is 12. I am especially encouraged by it because many times we as Christians, we go through different things, and We wonder why, and we feel as if God is picking on us sometimes. And I'm here to tell you that no, He's not picking on you. He disciplines you in different situations because He loves you. He's your father, and just like an earthly father disciplines a child, that's what the Lord does using trials, tribulations, all different situations. He will use it to make us understand that He's trying to mold us into His image and His likeness. At the end of it all, what the Lord wants for us is for us to be holy. He says, be holy, for He is holy. And in the same Hebrews 12, it says that without holiness, we cannot see God. Let me tell you specifically where in Hebrews 12. It says, Hebrews 12:14, make every effort to live in peace with everyone and to be holy. Without holiness, no one will see the Lord. But I realize that we live in a generation where some of us, we come to God and we want to stay the same way when we come to God. So when the Lord tries to change certain things about us, when the Lord tries to discipline us, tries to chasten us, we rebel and we want to do our own thing. But the truth of the matter is that if we remember in Romans 12, the Lord tells us that we should be transformed by the renewing of our minds, that we should not live according to the flesh. We should not live according to what the world says. We should not live according to the world's standards. And I find that a lot of that is happening. And I'm not bashing anybody, because many of us, we come into the body just with our same old thoughts. We have accepted Christ, yes, but our mind has not been renewed. Our thoughts have not been changed. So we have certain practices, certain things that we still do. But the problem is that those who come in like that, we do not like when the Lord corrects us. You have persons who are like that. And if you're one of those people, I'm begging you, please, to just yield to what the Lord is doing in your life. I try to do that daily because I rebel too. Hello, I rebel too. But at the end of the day, my aim is to please God. I want to please Him. I don't want to please flesh. And there are things that I liked. There are things that I do like, and the Lord is saying, no, no, no. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to think this way. I don't want you to have this response to that situation. And it feels as if you're being disciplined. Sometimes, even like it says in Hebrews, the discipline feels hurtful. It's painful. When you are used to something, you are used to a certain pattern of thinking, a certain way of living, and the Lord is trying to change you. It doesn't feel good. And what happens is that a lot of people abandon the process. I want us to be reminded that the Lord isn't concerned about our comfort, because as Christians, we know that we are supposed to live a sacrificial life, which means that we are supposed to give up our will, give up what we want, give up what we like, so that the Lord can have His way in our lives. And that's why I love that song that was playing at the beginning. It's Have Your Way by Jabari Johnson and Todd Galbraith. Right. I love that song, and the line that says, if it's not pleasing to you, take it out of me. I love that line. And it says, burn it away, burn it away, burn it away. Listen, even at the end of this right here, it says, the Lord is a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29. For our God is a consuming fire. Before that, 28 says, therefore, since we are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken, let us be thankful and so worship God acceptably with reverence and awe. For our God is a consuming fire. We don't realize, many of us, that our lives are supposed to worship God. And I've said it many times in many videos and even casual conversations. We are supposed to worship God with our lives. Our lives should be a reflection of how we see God. And I know we are not going to get it right. But when we keep striving and pushing to do that, good. But sometimes it does get hard. Sometimes we lose faith. Sometimes we just can't be bothered. But I love the part in Hebrews 12:28 and 29, where it reminds us that we are getting a kingdom. Being sons and daughters of God, we are getting a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And it is our duty, our responsibility to worship the Lord with our lives, not just with our mouths, but with our lives, our whole being. We're supposed to worship Him that way, in awe and in reverence, because He is a consuming fire. And what I want to say, which may not seem orthodox to many people, is that yes, the Lord is a consuming fire. He is a just God, but that same consuming fire that can wreak havoc on the unjust, because we know that when God comes, He comes with His wrath. It will be with a vengeance. That same consuming fire can be used to burn anything in us that is not right. And that's what the discipline of God does if we allow it to do that. It burns away the things in us that God does not want to be there. And it takes endurance to go through this. It stretches our faith, and that's what the Lord wants. Because when our faith is tested, we become persons who can testify to others, encourage others. And for me, it's just amazing to go through something and you not know how you are going to go through it, and the Lord just made a way. That's just mind-blowing for me. And I want all of us to be at a place, or desire to be at a place in our lives where when the Lord comes in and He's sending the things or allowing these things to happen to us, where we just don't understand why it's so painful. I want us to get to a place where we start looking beyond the pain, looking beyond the discipline, looking beyond, where we're looking beyond the chastening, to realize that He's working out something. Because we are told in scriptures as well that He began a good work in us and He will complete it if we allow Him. Because we do have there is the permissive will of God, and there is the divine will of God. So there are things that the Lord wants to do, directions He wants to push us in, but then there are directions that we want to put ourselves in, and things that we want to do. And I don't know about you, but I prefer the divine will of God, because where the divine will of God is, there is divine protection. So the Lord will chasten us. Sometimes it will feel hard, like those Christians in the book of Hebrews who felt as if they wanted to give up. There are going to be those times. But because the Lord loves us, and He tells us He loves us as sons and daughters, as joint heirs, we have to go through that. We have to go through it. And at the end of it, we will receive a kingdom that cannot be shaken. I don't care too much for what I will gain in this earth. I believe I'm at that point. My aim is to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant." I don't want to see the Lord and hear that He had this for me to do and that for me to do, and I did not do it. And He had this blessing and that blessing for me, but because I was disobedient, I did not get them. So I encourage us to allow the Lord to discipline and chasten us. And those are things we should be happy about. Like Hebrews says, Hebrews 12, it's just like an earthly father. But the difference between an earthly father and our divine Father is that the earthly father is limited in his discipline and his chastening. And it is for a time, because as children, when we're under our parents' roof, we take whatever is meted out to us by our parents. And once we get on our own, we do our own thing. Mind you, some good seeds are planted in us and we still remember. But with the Lord, His chastening, when you're walking with Him, is always, it's constant, it's never ending. It's never ending. And at the end of it, it will work out for our good and for His glory. So I encourage you to embrace the discipline and the chastening of the Lord. It may be painful now, but remember, you'll be inheriting a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And He's doing all of this because He loves you. So I pray that you have been blessed and you have been encouraged. And let me just not encourage you with this, but welcome you to the best month of the year. I know, don't throw tomatoes. I know some of you aren't happy, but it's my birth month, the best month of the year. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on tomorrow for Warfare Wednesday. Have a blessed one. Take care.